What's going on, everyone? It's your boy back with you for another issue of Tommy Reads X-Men. Today, we're going to talk about X-Men number 8 from November 1964. Written once again by Stan the Man Lee with art by Jack the King Kirby. This one is called Eunice the Untouchable, and that's who we meet in this issue. I don't know if it's Eunice or Unis, U-N-U-S. I'm going to go with Eunice, so we'll just stick with that. So, we start our issue off like we do a lot of them at the mansion. Now, last issue, the X-Men graduated high school, and we learned pretty quickly that they're going to stay at the mansion. They're going to stay, live, train, and do post-grad work at the mansion. It's a little weird that they had them graduate and then just had everything revert back to the same the next issue. Like, you'd think maybe one of them would have wanted to go to a different school and leave the X-Men and, just kind of test themselves out. But no, we decided to graduate them up, but keep them the same at the same time. Scott is still the leader of the X-Men, and he's still cosplay Professor X. He's still cosplay Professor X. He's dressing in his suits. He's acting like he's Charles. He's doing things that Charles would do, talking in the way he would talk. He's not Scott no more. It's almost as if Charles put his mind into Scott's body and, did some kind of weird, but he didn't, as we learn later when Scott actually talks to Charles. Angel, in training at the Danger Room, he hits us with this issue's Jean's Hot. He's distracted by Jean and ends up getting a little bit hurt during the practice, and he's upset that Jean doesn't seem to like him the way he likes her, and we learn through thought bubbles, the bloop, 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 that Scott and Jean, through their individual thought bubbles, not together, that'd be weird, that Scott and Jean both are starting to have feelings for each other, but they don't admit it. Jean doesn't tell Scott because of reasons, and Scott doesn't tell Jean because now that he's in charge, he thinks he can't do that. Now, they're about the same age, so it's all good, I guess. It would be if they admit it, and we know what happens down the line with Scott and Jean. But, yeah, so right now they're kind of doing their, for lack of a better term, the Ross and Rachel thing. I never watched Friends. I watched Martin on Thursday. Shout out Martin fans. Martin! But anyway, that's off topic. Scott and Jean are going to do their thing later. Angel's pissed because he ain't doing his thing with Jean. And Beast decides to leave all this high school nonsense. I mean, he's like 18, 19 years old. And decides to go out around the town, and he ends up saving a kid who was in danger. This kid was like falling from a building or something like that. And instead of getting praise and thanks from the people watching, the onlookers, because there's always a mob of onlookers in these situations, he gets yelled at, and people start calling him a freak. And he goes back to the mansion and starts complaining, why do we even do this? Why are we wasting our time when they're obviously so mean to us? Now, this is what Magneto's saying all along. And if Magneto was there, he'd be like, told you so. But he's not. And he gets into a fight with Scott, and he says, that's it. I'm done with the X-Men. And he quits. And everybody's like, no, Hank, don't go. Not really like, Hank, don't go, please. It was more like, oh, he's gone. And Scott doesn't know what to do. So he uses Cerebro to contact Papa Chuck to get that advice. And Charles, he could have been like, he uses like, it's almost like a phone call he uses Cerebro as, and Charles could have been like, ahoy hoy, yes, but he's like, what? And Scott's like, here's what's happening, blah, blah, blah. Now, when we cut to Charles, he is in this like mech suit looking thing, and he's burrowing his way into the ground. And he's like, I don't have time to deal with you guys' little problems, alright? I'm actually, if you must know, I'm actually digging my way to meet Lucifer. And Scott's not like, wait, what? And then he's like, but I gotta go, bye. And then he hangs up. Now, Charles is in a mech suit, digging his way to hell to meet Lucifer. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, not with us, but people watching. Why are you guys burying the lead? That's the story we should be talking about. That is a more interesting story than Beast getting upset and leaving the team, and somehow this is called Eunice the Untouchable, who we haven't even met halfway through the book. I want to read that story. You guys bury the lead, but hopefully down the road we will get that story. I don't know yet. So Beast decides, I'm not an X-Men. what's the next logical choice for a guy with smarts like me? Professional wrestler. And so that's what he becomes. He becomes a professional wrestler, and he's wearing a mask and everything like that, and he decides to be a wrestler, and people love him. People love him, and right away he gets a shot at the professional wrestling world champ, and that is where we meet Eunice the Untouchable. And he is untouchable because Hank quickly realizes while fighting him that he is a mutant. His mutant power is he has a force field around him, hence the untouchable part. Nobody could get around to him, nobody could pin him, nobody could beat him, and that's why he gives Hank those hands. Yeah, Eunice gets the W, keeps the title. I don't know what company he's wrestling for back in '64. But in fighting him, Hank sees in the crowd Mastermind. And Mastermind is actually recruiting Eunice for the Brotherhood. And Hank listens in, he goes snooping around after his loss, and he picks up Eunice and Mastermind talking. Mastermind's like, you haven't really proven that much to us, but, it's not like you're taking down the X-Men, which he mentions casually. And then he's like, you know what? If you could do something like that, give us a call, and we'll recruit you to the Brotherhood. Now, the Brotherhood has a line that they call like a bat phone kind of deal. I don't know. We don't really dwell on that too much. Are they in the phone book? Are they under Magneto or just Brotherhood? Or I guess it'd be mutants for M? I don't know. I don't really do phone books too much anymore in the 2020 or ever really. But he tells him call him, and then he takes off. So Eunice, wanting to leave the professional wrestling world where he's so successful, I guess, and decides to pick a fight with the X-Men. Now, he finds the X-Men and just starts whooping them. Now, the crowd's there, and he would have made headlines had this happened. Now, imagine in '64 if you're like, Bruno Sammartino started whipping the crap out of these 5 teenagers in the middle of the street. That would be on the news, that would be in papers, that would have kids, trying to sell the papers, be like, Bruno Sammartino whips kids, read all about it. I don't know, I need to rewatch Newsies, because I think that's how they talked back then. But yeah, Beast sees the X-Men getting whipped. Now, he decides to go back into the mansion and make a woo's-it to do a what's-it. And in the course of that, the X-Men come home licking their wounds and see Beast building this gun. And he's like, oh, hey, and then Scott gets so pissed off that he starts a fight with the Beast. Like, nah, you quit. I already turned your room into a gym/beat laboratory. And you can't come back. And he's like, what are you talking about? The other team's like, just let Hank do his thing. But no, they fight. Hank leaves with the gun, and they think he's turned on them. All loyalty's going out the window for Cosplay Charles. He ain't got no loyalty right now, and you're supposed to lead this team? Come on now. Have some faith in your boy. Not this boy, Hank. Hank's his boy. Me and Cyclops are just alright. Actually, I like Cyclops a lot. He doesn't talk about me much. So, Beast returns, and he shoots Eunice with the gun. Now, the purpose of this gun is to amplify his power. So, Eunice can't, and we see in panels, he can't enjoy a cigarette. He can't get a steak dinner, because the force field is so much that every time he goes near something, it goes crashing or exploding. And Hank basically threatens his life. Now, I don't know if he was pissed off for losing the fight earlier. I mean, Hank had all the skills. He was athletic, he was strong. He's like 2003 Brock Lesnar. He was like the Big Show when he was in WCW when he was the Giant. These are some not deep cut wrestling things, but like, if you watch, then you know what I'm talking about. That's what he was like. And he still lost, so maybe he's a little ticked off at that. But he uses the gun on him. He tells him, it's going to stay like this, and you're going to starve and die if you go with Magneto. Now, if I shoot you again, we'll go back to normal, where you just have the normal force field. And he's like, all right, I'll leave Magneto alone. I promise. He's like, you promise? And he's like, yeah, I just said that. And he's like, all right. So he shoots him with the gun again. Now this gun, I don't know if it's going to come into play in later X-Men, but does it work on everyone? Does, if he shoots Iceman, will he turn into a giant snowball and suffocate? I don't know what kind of trickery and deviltry that Beast is up to, but he's up to it. And so he keeps the gun, And then he says, you know, guys, this is what I was working on the whole time. I want to rejoin the X-Men. And they're like, cool. Great plan, Scott. And he takes the credit for this win, for this W against Eunice, even though Beast did the whole thing. Somehow Scott, in his green pinstripe Charles suit, takes the credit, and Hank's just like, well, I guess I'm back on the team. That's all for today. And that's how the issue ends. Like, Scott takes the credit for some weird reason. Now, final thoughts on this. This was not a great issue. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. It was kind of weak. It was a little bit boring. You know, Beast isn't my favorite character, so a Beast-centric episode, or issue, rather. Sorry, I was thinking X-Men animated series. But even in both of them, when Beast came on, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm out. It's time to go get a drink from watch the cartoon. It's time to just kind of flip through these pages when I'm reading the Beast issue. I'll have the same problem with Jubilee later on, but we'll get to Jubilee in a long time from now. But it was a weak issue. The wrestling stuff was cool because I like wrestling, especially the old school wrestling. So comparing them to these wrestlers and stuff was kind of fun. But all in all, the issue would have been better if we had followed Charles in hell talking to Lucifer. And he's like, Chuck! And he's like, Luce. We got some explaining to do. But hopefully we'll get to that story. Hopefully Stan Lee and Jack Kirby won't let us down. This issue was a bit of a filler, but old school X-Men's good X-Men, any X-Men's good X-Men. So I did have fun reading it, but some of the other issues were better. That Namor one from a couple issues back, that's probably the gold standard right now. I had a lot of fun reading that one. This one, you could probably skip it, but it was okay. 5 out of 10, that's still an F. Anyway, this has been Tommy Reads X-Men. Come back with us for another issue. Thank you for checking it out. Thank you for checking out my channel. Like and subscribe down there somewhere where the like and subscribe button is. And yeah, we'll check you out next issue. Thank you.